Okay, next we have Benjamin with a talk about remote output service, how not to have your bytes and eat them too.
So hello everyone, my name is Benjamin. I'm a co-founder and I work as jack of all trades at Marathon. So at Marathon, we help companies to speed up their builds, which usually involves diving into the nitty-gritty things and getting things to work well. But today, I'm just going to give a talk about the remote output service. The remote output service is a community-driven project, and it's there to help streamline output management of Bazel when working with very large builds. So to get there, we're going to have a little bit of a primer here and just the general shape of remote execution. The screens here are a bit staggered, but I hope you guys can see what it says. We have two parts. We have our dev machine and our remote cluster. On our dev machine, that's where Bazel's running. It fetches our source files, uploads them to the remote cache. Then the remote sends execution instructions to the remote execution system. And then the remote execution system pings back and forth with the remote cache with all of the partial results. Bazel then downloads them and puts them into Bazel out. The general phenomena here is just you have small inputs, your source files, which hopefully doesn't change very much over the time. You've already uploaded most of them. You just need to upload the changes to them. But you have large outputs. And this output can become terabytes of data. And it consists of a lot of different things. There's the intermediate results, debug symbols that were built on the way, any container image, flash image, basically anything that a developer at some point thought could be useful to build. So what we want to do here is we want to kind of simplify this. So if we pay attention to the graph here, we can kind of see that we don't really need the outputs. Like when we have the remote execution system, we can just let the remote execution system ping back and forth with the remote cache, and then we can skip all of the outputs. That's the general thought behind remote build without the bytes. It's a fairly long-standing project in Bazel. I think it's in 0.25 where it was introduced. And it is finally getting flipped on by default now. So now we're really certain that it works right now. And this basically allows Bazel to skip downloading and leave them on the remote cache server. That's really great. Then we don't have to download all of these bytes anymore, and everything's great. The thing is, though, that usually you perform builds for reasons, not just because you want to see some machines work a lot. And that reason is usually because you want to see those bytes that are produced by the system. So to get them out, there is a little bit of tooling that you can use right out of the box. There's the remote download top level, which says, okay, but we just want to get the final result of each build. And there's the remote download regex, where you say, well, we want to get the results which match this regular expression or this collection of regular expression. Well, the problem here is that, well, once you start doing that, you start adding the regexes to it, go to the top level. Turns out the top level results are those big container images and ISOs that you need. And the regexes that you might need will depend on, are you doing a debug at the moment? Oh, in that case, you need these symbols, which have all of the debug symbols. Or are you looking through the source code with a local tool that looks at the generated source code? Oh, then you need this other regex. It's a lot of hassle and things to think about. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, if you want your bytes, you have to download them. You can't just not have them and eat them too. Wasn't that the topic of the discussion? It was. So for this specific reason, we're introducing the remote output service. Here we move the remote downloads to be performed by an external service outside of Bazel, still running on your local machine, but we offload the task of actually downloading stuff from the remote cluster to the remote output service, and just sends like metadata about what, oh, we had the remote execution system build these things for us. Please go fetch them. and put them in Basel out. This wouldn't really help us with anything. We'd just be back into the situations where we produce a lot of stuff in the Basel out folder. But what we can do is that we can use a bit smarter implementation of the remote output service in order to help us with this situation. One such example is BB Client D. And what BB Client D does is that instead of actually downloading the things into Basel out, it just mounts a virtual file system there where it tells the user that, yeah, sure, I downloaded those files. Look, they're here. The virtual file system describes their exact topology. They have the correct size. And with a bit of effort, you can even check the hash of them without actually having to go fetch anything from the cache layer. And then a developer doesn't really have to think about which files are actually downloaded. From a user perspective, this is exactly the same as if you were doing a remote download all before, but the optimization is being done in the remote output service implementation here. That's the biggest advantage here, is that you can move the thought about which things do I need to download when performing these builds. You don't have to rerun Basel because you forgot to download certain things. You just have them there if you need them. And since we've offloaded this into a separate process, this process can keep track of things in a much better way. It can deduplicate identical files, whether it was because you downloaded them yesterday or in a completely different workspace. You can control just how much of these remote files do I want to keep on my system. You can give it a fixed size to keep to, and it'll automatically manage to throw away old unused things. And that's fine, because if you need it, then it'll go download it again. And another neat feature is that you can snapshot your exact build result. So as you have a description of your output directory, you get the ability to snapshot that small description of your output directory, offload that into a different system so that you can explore your CI system and sometime in the future see what it produced, or archive it if it's a very important build. And you don't have to keep track of multiple versions of output files which were produced by different CI systems. You just keep track of this small object which describes all of the outputs that were produced. So what's the current state? Well, the remote output service is an accepted proposal for Basel. There is an implementation available, and it's in the process of being upstreamed. If you want to have a little bit of a preview, we pre-built a couple of versions of it that you can just add to your .basel version, and you'll get a version of Basel which is that exact version but with the remote output service. The server software, BB Client D, is a free open source project. It's available at buildbarn/bbclientd. It's created by the BuildBarn developers, but it's compatible with any remote execution system. Patches are welcome. So thank you all for your time. We've had pretty great results using the remote output service and BB Client D, and hope you guys can have it at too. There's going to be a discussion at the Birds of a Feather where we can talk a little bit about the details behind it, or you can just catch me in the hallway.